Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome you all to this live session. Am I audible? So everyone can hear me? Okay, so let's wait for a few more minutes to for other people to join. So am I audible? Am I audible to everyone? Seems more people are joining. Hello? Am I audible? Is my sound clear? Seems it's clear. Okay. Now we will start this. Hello, hello. Am I audible? So it's already 7:08. Let's start the session. So those guys who haven't joined the session yet, they can join the session after in between. We'll add them in between, so there's not a problem of joining. But I will suggest you guys to join on time so that I can start the session on time and you can benefit from this live session. Apart from that, we can have a good conversation, also good interaction. So that's why these live sessions are actually planned. Uh, I think it's already 7:09, so we will start at 7:10 actually. So we can have an ample amount of time. So there are, if we see, there the live sessions are 2 hours long. So time is not an issue. We will discuss a lot in the live sessions and try to solve the questions, equations, everything. I'm sure you all will be benefited from this live session, and it will be a recap of the weekly lectures. Apart from that, we'll try to solve the assignment questions also. So this is how these live sessions are actually planned. Okay. So yeah, everything is going fine. So yeah, let's start the session. Okay, so once again, welcome you all to this live session of NPTEL. This is the course Non-Conventional Energy Resources. This course is run under this NPTEL from January to April, or I think it's a 3 months course or 4 months course or something, 12-week course. And this is live session being conducted on 7th of Feb 2023. And this course is the instructor for this course is Professor Pratap Haridos, is a professor in Department of Metallurgical and Material Sciences, MEMS, in IIT Madras. I am Rohit. I am a PMS scholar in IIT Bombay. So I will be taking this live session. There are actually three TAs, Lalit, Amit, and me, who are actually responsible for taking these live sessions. So we are not like normal TAs, regular TAs for this course. We are PRF TAs. So we are given the responsibility to take live session, to interact with the students, to know their queries, to solve, to have a discussion about the weekly courses, to interact with them, to solve assignments, to guide them how to solve these assignment questions. So on similar lines, we have done this. We'll be doing this. Actually, also there has been a grudge in past that most of the NPTEL courses are only instructor driven, so there are no component of interaction between the instructor and the student. So that's why NPTEL has taken a step forward, and these live sessions are actually planned on a weekly basis so that you can benefit a lot from the live sessions. I'm sure you will be liking these live sessions a lot, and we'll have a good interaction also. I think it's working good. Okay. I'll have to check in between that the live sessions are actually recorded, because mainly we have three TAs. I think Amit is taking on Monday from 6 to 8, Lalit from Tuesday 6 to 8, and I'm taking it from Tuesday 7 to 9. So mainly people, there are a lot of students who have registered for this course, so they can actually join any of us. We all three of us are actually conducting live sessions. So we cover all the weekly materials, assignment questions. So you can join any of us, okay, and have your queries cleared. So in case you miss, you can't join. Like you cannot join me. Me, Amit, or Lalit, then these live sessions are actually recorded, like you have seen, and these recordings will be uploaded on YouTube, and the link will be shared to you. There will be a tab, problem solving or live sessions tab, something in the NPTEL portal, so you can access from there. Okay. And also the slides which I am using will be uploaded there, so you can access the slides also. So it's not a big issue, and there has always been a interesting interaction between the students, so I encourage interaction. I also encourage that you ask questions, we can have a good discussion. So okay, another thing is that key how I have planned these live sessions are, for this today's live session is that key, I've taken the non-graded assignment questions and tried to solve it down. Apart from that, when we try to solve these non-graded questions, then most probably we'll discuss the basic concepts behind them, also some interesting facts also apart from that, and not only some interesting facts but also if required, we can diverge from topics and discuss some related things also. So it's not a big deal. I am always thinking of that a good interaction could take place between students and me and among the students also, so you can ask good questions. I think this will probably help you guys. Okay. Another thing is that key, uh, apart from these non-graded questions, I have solved and tried. We will try to solve the assignment, old assignment question like previous from the previous run of this course. So I've added those questions also. I will solve them. I will try to. We'll try to see. We'll see how those questions are to be solved. How can we solve them? We'll discuss also. Apart from that, we will discuss the concepts also regarding this live session. So let's start this session. Okay. So we'll go very slow because we have a ample time of 2 hours. So we can actually go question by question, and we can have a fruitful discussion. So let me take a pointer. Okay. The first question was, let me check if anyone wants to join. Nobody wants to join. That recording is working okay. So let's start. Okay, the modern oil wells have been around for 200 years. The mic is working okay. Yeah. The modern oil wells have been around for 200 years. Okay, so main thing is that key what it is talking. First, see the question. Modern oil wells. So first thing is that key oil. You need to think about oil and the modern oil wells is, it's talking not about the prehistoric era wells or something. What it is talking is that the oil wells which are used to produce oil, it's talking about that only. So modern oil wells have been around for 200 years. Okay. So if we see oil as a phenomena, oil is basically a very modern phenomena, which is basically discovered in between 18th and 19th century, and this oil has actually driven the industrial revolution to a lot of extent. So if you see the first industrial revolution, it was basically, what do you think the first industrial revolution, what containers or materials have driven the first industrial revolution? I am talking about the first industrial revolution. has always been coal and iron, or you can see steel. So if you see the first industrial revolution, like England was the mother of the first industrial revolution. So what did England mills, the mills in England did? They utilized the coal and iron from India and other colonized countries and drove their industrial revolution. And what they produced? They produced textiles. Generally textile. Textiles was a heavy industry at that time. And they flooded these textiles to the colonized market, colonies. So that's how they destroyed the markets of the colonies and local weavers and everything. So they flooded the colonies with cheap textile. That's how they actually got a lot of criticism for destroying the industries in the colonies and driving their industrial revolution. But at later times, the oil became a very big phenomena. What it did, it was actually a very much having a high calorific value than coal. So, what do you think the calorific value of coal is? Calorific value of coal varies between 24 to 32 maybe megajoule per kg based on the grades of coal which are utilized. And what is the calorific value of oil? So if you see diesel varies from 35 to 40. Similarly for petrol varies from 38 to 44. So the high calorific value means high energy, high heat output. So that can be utilized for driving very fast moving objects like which need heat or power at a constant rate. So that's why oil was actually pushed into this transportation vehicles because it need power at a very faster rate. It needs something which can burn at very faster rate and produce power instantly, and also it can be controlled. The combustion can be controlled, everything through air or something. So that's why this oil was actually pushed into this vehicle. So it boosted the transportation sector well to a very high extent. And that's why the coal was not preferred source in transportation. The main thing was energy density of oil is high, so you need to carry a much lesser amount of oil to produce a high amount of power. Other thing was that the technologies auto developed the auto engines, diesel engine, which petrol engine, diesel engines, compression ignition engines, spark ignition engines. So these engines were actually developed and they are very much efficient than the uh, coal. Or you can say coal, basically coal is utilized in boiler and then steam is produced which is used to drive a turbine to produce power. So that's a very big sort of industrial energy conversion steps which is not a preferred source in actually a technology sector. So why? Because at every steps, like you see first step boiler, okay, second step is when boiler the steam is produced. The steam, third step is turbine, then turbine will rotate, fourth step is generator, then the power will be produced which can be utilized to run something. So every time if we see all these efficiency will get multiplied and the resultant efficiency will be much lesser. But here only one step, you burn the oil in engines and get the power, that's all. So much lesser energy conversion step leads to much higher efficiency here. So here if you see overall efficiency of a power plant varies between 18 to 20%. Here it can be 35 to 40% also. So much efficient, almost twice as efficient or 1.5 times as efficient as a coal power plant or something. So oil was actually a very not because of this only. Oil has actually a lot of contents and properties. So oil, you get kerosene, you get diesel, you get petrol, gasoline, wax, paraffin wax, everything you get from oil. Even the plastics can be made from the products from the oil. So oil has such a, you have heard of distillation process. So what they do, they just separate the products, these final products from the oil. Okay. So basically, only oil drove the industrial phenomena, not industrial or economical phenomena, because of vehicle, logistic becomes easier. It was actually helping industry also in some sense, because we have this aeroplane, we have this big ships which carry containers, everything. So it indirectly or directly from it's actually boosting the industrial growth, economic growth, etc. And because of this, the demand of oil was actually surged. Okay, so because of vehicles also, people were growing, more money was coming, so they tend to buy bikes, cars, trucks for logistics, everything. So the Middle East countries, which were at the helm of the world, actually helm, why I say helm, because they were not so known to the world, but with the advent of oil, these Middle East countries became the dhanna set of the, they become very rich after selling oil. Even the cities like Dubai are developed based on the oil money only. So that's how oil is also called black gold, the crude oil. So you can imagine the amount of or cost of these oils. But if we see these oil wells, these are much modern. So the first oil well was actually discovered in 1859. And can you say which country has discovered this first oil well? Anyone? No, no. It wasn't Middle East, Saudi. It wasn't any Middle East country. Saudi, Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, UAE. No, the first oil was actually dug up in state of Pennsylvania, US. It was USA in which the oil was actually first oil well was discovered. So if you talk, yeah, India, you are saying right? Yeah, India was we have this oil field in Digboi, in Bombay High. So we have some oil, but we don't have such huge large quantities of oil in India. But that's always a issue basically, because the India has to import the oil, and because of this import we need forex reserve. India is actually making a gradual shift to renewable energy, and it is trying its best to have a significant share of renewable by 2030. Maybe around 40 to 50% of power it is going to produce through only renewable energy. Okay. And can anyone say which is the largest, which country has the largest oil reserve in the world? Largest, largest oil reserve. Can anyone say? Yeah, no. It's not Saudi Arabia. Yeah, most of the people confuse it with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi has a lot of oil and they sell a lot of oil actually to the world also. But it's not Saudi Arabia. You'll be amazed to know that a country very less known actually has the largest oil reserve? Venezuela. It's a Latin American country, has the largest oil reserve in the world, but their oil has some sulfur content or something, which is not very, which is very harsh for Indian refinery. That's why we don't purchase much from them. Second thing is that Venezuela is situated much far away than Middle East, so logistic cost, everything has to be looked into to purchase oil from any country. So Venezuela was one country which has a very large oil reserve. Even USA has got a significant amount of oil reserves, but they don't use their reserve. They buy from Middle East. They're saving their reserves. USA has a lot of money, so they can spend on buying oil from Middle East. But countries like India, which has a very low income countries, so a middle income country has to feed a large amount of population, so they cannot afford buying large amount of oil from Middle East. So they have to look for alternatives, which can come from renewable system or change in lifestyle or deploying new technologies. So these can also be a phenomena. Also, if you see, so the correct answer is true. Modern oils have been discovered around for 200 years. Yeah, it's true. Another thing is that Mr. Edwin Eldrake, he has actually discovered, dug up or discovered the first oil in August 1859 in the state of Pennsylvania. So that's why the trick question, where it was discovered, who discovered it, and where it was discovered. You got to know state of Pennsylvania. Another thing is that when you are talking of this oil wells, so we have this person Rockefeller. It cannot be the U.S. history cannot be. When we talk about oil in U.S., then only one name comes Rockefeller. He has actually fueled. He was a person who controlled 80 to 90% of oil market in the US at one time, in something around 1890s to 1900 something. He controlled 80 to 90% of oil market, and even the wells. He has this company, Standard Oil Company, through which he actually controlled 80 to 90% of oil, and most of his actually he was one of the richest person in the US, and the money was actually used in a lot of industries also, like banking, insurance, laying railway lines also, because most of the oil was actually transported through railway lines, tankers, etc. So that's how much of the US is built on Rockefeller oil money. So that was the main thing, and he was quite famous for this, Rockefeller. So, with no any questions regarding this, I think we have discussed a lot on oils and this Rockefeller and other phenomena, but I am sure you must have liked it. So, yeah, let's discuss the question number two. Let me see if anyone is there. Nobody wants to join. So let's discuss this question number two. Uh, let's take pen. So another question in modern cities. So most of the question, if you see, the last question was also modern oil wells, and this is modern city. Okay, so in modern cities, most people are carrying solar power devices. So main thing you need to focus is what are solar power devices. So if you see solar power devices, any device which runs on solar energy, device which runs on solar energy for obtaining its power is called solar power devices. So what can be some examples of solar power devices? It can be like cars. Cars can run on solar energy. Uh, Small equipments, SPV, solar photovoltaic cells, home modules, solar photovoltaic modules, this solar cookers, etc. So yeah, in modern city, most people are carrying. So if you see these items which run on solar, they are very very limited. You don't quite see them in open or something. They are quite uh, very much you know. You can say not common in the phenomena because these things are one thing is that these things are very expensive. So first thing is that solar power devices are expensive than regular devices. Why? Because we need use solar modules which itself are very costly to make. uh, we have actually achieved a scale of economy in power production from solar photovoltaic model, but not in devices. So that is always a problem here in case of solar power devices. Second thing is that these are intermittent in nature. What do you mean by intermittent? Like you cannot run a solar power device in night, but like if you have a solar torch, okay, so this solar torch can only be run on or recharged in morning, in daytime, in solar hours. So what happens if you require a solar torch in night? So what can be done? So you need to have a battery. So another thing, another cost is added up. Okay, so expensiveness. You need to have a battery, and that battery needs to be charged from solar modules. So okay, so these things. So that is always an issue here in case of solar power devices. But if you see their operation also, they are very much intermittent. So you can't, if the battery gets discharged, so you can't charge it in night. But regular torches can be charged in night through electricity. So these things are actually very much typical or very much you say uh, inconvenient to use. So that's why you don't see most people are carrying solar power devices. So this is a false statement. So this option is actually true. Okay. So what can be some solar power devices? Solar torch, solar lantern, solar photovoltaic modules, solar cars, solar aeroplanes, solar calculators. You can think of n number of devices operating solar. Okay, solar are actually very much becoming more of a global phenomena, and it's getting a lot of attention in these days. Can you name some? Yeah, we can name some: solar power cars, solar modules, solar photovoltaic, solar lanterns, solar torch, solar chimneys, a lot of things. Is calculator a solar power device? So what do you think? What do you think? Calculator is a solar power device. If you take a calculator, so have you seen a calculator? So if I draw a calculator here, where is the cursor? Yeah. So if we draw a calculator, a scientific calculator or a normal calculator also, generally I am drawing a scientific calculator. So we have a screen here and we have some buttons here. Yeah, small, pretty small buttons. So these buttons are on off buttons and various operation and calculation buttons. Another thing is that you see whether in some calculator is situated above the screen or in some calculator situated here below the screen. This type of thing. It seems like a glass panel, and these are actually solar cells. You can say which give power to the battery, which is stored underneath and recharges the battery every time you use the calculator in daytime or anything. So these calculators are actually very handy. You don't need to uh, recharge them. You can use them for a long duration of time uh, without any interventions from your side or technician side or charging them on regular electricity. So yeah, so calculator solar power devices. Most of the calculators are solar power devices. Okay. So I think is there any question regarding this modern cities? Most people are carrying solar power devices. Think of anything. Then let me see. Recording is going on. So yeah, if you I think if there are no queries, we can move to the next question. So we have this 5 questions from non-graded assignments, and then we have 10 questions from graded assignments. So if we take the next question, so if we see at the present rate of usage of energy, it's talking about present rate, not the past. So focus. If you see the question, don't just rush into it. Get thing to grab what's being said in the question of what is the main nature and requirement of the question. So it's saying that we in the present at the present rate the of the usage of energy. So it's talking about the usage of energy without changing the source of energy. So if you don't change the source of energy, it is likely that so there can be different source of energy. One is coal. So energy can be divided into primary energy, secondary energy. Okay, so primary energy are raw natural form of energy. Secondary energy are something which are derived from primary energy, or primary energy gets converted to secondary energy, like electricity. It gets converted from coal to electricity. Okay, heat, everything. So yeah, primary and secondary energy. So at the present rate of use of energy, what we are change of source of energy. So we are not changing any source of energy. Okay, so source are like this only. It is likely that amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will double in less than 100 years. So yeah, it's quite a um, uh, established fact, or it has been actually studied and modeled in different phenomena, researches, everything. So we have actually estimated in how many years this carbon dioxide thing is actually getting doubled in the atmosphere. So yeah, it was found that most of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is actually doubled in less than 100 years. That's a quite big phenomena, a very big phenomena. It needs to look with all the environmental engineers, scientists around the world are actually very much careful or very much uh, excited, can't say excited, very much thinking about this thing because carbon dioxide is actually a greenhouse gas. It has a global warming potential also, so this can add up to the global warming thing or something. But main thing is these carbon dioxide can actually trap the heat from sun, and yeah, it can double in less than 100 years. Like I think the answer is something 43 or 86 or something, so you need to look at, I think it's 83, uh, 86, sorry, not 83, my bad. So yeah, this is actually a true thing. It's true actually, so yeah, correct answer is true. But the main thing is that why this CO2 is CO2 is very much required in Himachal or something, Himachal or somewhere, anything. So main thing is greenhouse gas is actually becoming quite a big phenomena here. Greenhouse gases are actually those gases which produce greenhouse gas effect on the earth. So what is greenhouse? So greenhouse is basically typically enclosed space in which the shorter wavelength of sun enters, and when it reflected it converts to longer wavelength of sun which gets trapped inside the greenhouse. So it is a big phenomena which is quite a piece of concern for studies, and so these needs to be looked at actually, this greenhouse gas effect. Okay, so because these phenomena were actually used in many European countries to keep the plants warm during winter season and to have a good growth of plants. So that's where this term greenhouse gas, actually greenhouse, comes from. And in similar terms, this gas, when trapped in the atmosphere, actually helps in boosting the in between connections, capturing. So there can be many greenhouse gases like methane, carbon dioxide, everything which can be trapped. That needs to be looked upon when you talk about carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas effect. So maybe carbon dioxide may not be a big contributor, but the amount of contribution done by carbon dioxide is quite high in terms of global warming potential. So what is global warming potential here? Global warming potential is basically a term which is calculated based on the carbon equivalence of the sins committed. Like this global warming potential of CO2 is taken as reference as 1, and CH4 has this global warming potential of 21. So CH4 is actually 21 times more potent as a global warming or greenhouse gas than CO2. So we need to actually, but CO2, the quantity of CO2 is much higher in the atmosphere, or because of the industry thing, the oil and coal and gas, everything, the power plants industry, everything is contributing a hell lot of CO2 in the atmosphere. So this has to be think of. Similarly, in similar nature, this greenhouse gas effect, which produces greenhouse gas effect, is actually measured and quantified, and their potential is identified. Is is carbon dioxide a greenhouse gas effect? Yeah, it's a greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide. So you need to be very careful when you talk about carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide can be green and can be very bad also, depending on the type of uses which is done on it. So I think we discussed a lot of things like carbon dioxide usage, greenhouse gas potential, ozone potential, everything. And I'm sure you must have enjoyed this lecture. So we move to the next question. It's 3 and 4. So we have discussed 3 questions. We have 4 and 5 from the non-graded assignment. Then we will move to the graded assignment. So the next topic is laser. Basically, we will be talking about laser here. So laser is quite useful device when used for a good purposes. It can be bad device also or bad component also. We have a good laser. So when we talk of laser, what are laser? So laser are basically excited electrons. The electrons are actually present in ground state or any state, and they are actually uh, moved to this higher state. And when they come back, so not a single electrons come back, a bunch of electrons like lakhs, 10 lakhs, millions come back. So they emit energy when they come back from higher to lower orbitals. Okay, just like we provide energy to our daughters to get into higher orbitals, and they will move forward. In similar nature, this thing happen. So electrons move to the higher orbitals of cells, and these electrons actually lose their energy when they come back to their original cells. And during this losses of energy, this energy trapped in a mirror container, and after trapping these energy actually travels like this inside the container because of high intensity of beams. It can be utilized for a number of applications, so that must be taken care of. And also this laser has been actually used for surgery. But the main thing is that lasers actually very much focused, and it can damage the cells, so that has to be done very carefully and very small fraction of second at a time, so there cannot be damage to the skin or cells or anything. Okay. So, yeah. And yeah, this is actually true. Lasers are actually used for surgery only for a very small fraction of seconds. So laser has not been materialized yet, but many countries are actually trying to develop weapons based on lasers. So yeah, this is true actually. The correct answer is true. Can you name some type of lasers? Yeah, we can name some type of laser like CO2 laser is a very common laser. You know, ND-YAG laser, very powerful laser, ND-YAG. Similarly, different lasers which can be utilized. So one of my trick question here is that are all lasers red, or if there that laser can be green or any other color also. So yeah, let me clarify it that laser can be of green color also. It's not a big deal. Laser can be of green color, and most of the lasers are narrated like blue, and because of prototype stereotype, these it's actually imagined or taken as red only, sorry, not blue or something. I've seen dress as like white dress and laser or something, green dress. So yeah, it has to utilize very carefully. Okay. Another thing is that are lasers harmful? Yeah, lasers are quite harmful in nature, very harmful. They can damage your skin, they can damage your kidney. So that can be a very big, not the kidney. They just can damage anything if they are powerful. So that has to be restricted. So most of the lasers we play in window and in childhood are actually turn on praises or something by laser only. So we have this laser thing which is actually quite powerful. So yeah, lasers if focused on wrong thing with wrong angle can be really harmful. So it is in your hand how you use it. So here I have tried to put the definition of laser. Like lasers are extremely focused beam discovered in 1960 at the Hughes Research Lab, California. That's a very important lab, and in California they are doing a lot of research in laser. So these lasers are actually products of a huge research lab, which is a very important lab in California. Later, it got spread into the whole world, and people were making use of it in various applications. Okay, so I think is there any queries? Any queries you want to ask? So it's already about 1 hour. And, so it's already 1 hour. We'll move to next question, and we will discuss this question, and we will take a break after this question so that we can come back with refreshing mind and discuss the next 1 hour, the rest of the questions, like the questions from previous run of the assignments. So this last question from the non-graded part of the assignment. These questions are from this year assignment only, so that's need to be discussed because these are very important questions that will clarify most of your queries about this course or something. And these are very much like factual type of questions which needs to be discussed. Okay, so read this question. Tell them. Hello. क्या कर रहा है भाई 11:30 बजे तो दवाई लेट हो गया अब तो ऐसा है क्लास लेट मतलब ब्रेक है ना पता ना नींद में भी था क्या क्या बोला मैंने कि कौन सा कोर्स है सर नहीं खाने का तो so that I think joining so let's wait for 50 मिनट बोलता था 2 घंटे कर दिया वो भी कुछ छूट नहीं रहा था तो क्या वैसे क्या किया ये 1 घंटे का जो मेरा है 1 घंटे क्या है वो बोले सर ऊपर मेल पे ही और मीटिंग में तो सर ये हमारे लिए गाइडलाइन है तो क्या आपकी मना नहीं करेंगे तब तक ये करा स्कीम ही बंद कर दी सर मिनट है ब्रेक ओवर break away. Yeah, so you have read this question. Artificial pacemakers typically use lead acid batteries. See, if you see the artificial pacemakers, okay, the main thing is that what are pacemakers? So pacemakers are something like which gives command to heart to get its beat. Okay, it's like electronic devices. So because it's an electronic device, it will need some battery for its operation, or it will need a power source. So even if you give power from other sources, so that is also okay. That can be utilized for running the pacemaker. So artificial pacemakers, heart itself is a pacemaker, but sometimes pacemakers are required because heart cannot function normally. So that's a very big issue, especially in case of heart. So the main thing is that artificial pacemakers typically use lead acid batteries. Uh, Another thing in this question is lead acid battery. So you have this lead, okay, lead acid battery. Another thing is acid. So where are these pacemakers placed? These pacemakers are placed very close to body or even in sometimes in the body itself. So you cannot put lead or acid, something like this, which can damage or cause harm to the body. Okay. So if you see this question is actually a very wrong statement. Even from if you even if you don't know the answers, only seeing these lead acid batteries, artificial pacemakers, you can answer that this is a false. Okay. So because there risk of toxicity and some risk as well, so that has to be taken care of, especially in case of handling these artificial pacemakers. And what are pacemakers? So mainly pacemakers are device. If you see definition of pacemaker, let's see what these pacemakers are, how they look like. Pacemakers. So, a pacemaker is a device used to control an irregular heart rhythm. A pacemaker has flexible insulated wires that placed in one or more chambers of the heart. Okay, so these are placed internally. These wires are placed internally in the chambers of heart, but these wires deliver electrical pulses to adjust the heart rate. Some newer pacemakers doesn't require lead, so there are some new pacemakers also, but still they need power source. So that's how they look like. This is a pacemaker. Okay, so pacemaker is basically putting a pace. So that has to be very much be careful, especially in case of heart and these pacemaker devices. I think most of you have a quite a clarity about how the pacemakers could look like. Okay, so the pacemakers. It's a device that gives signals to heart to make it the irregular rhythm of heart regular. So yeah, lead acid battery, where the lead acid batteries are actually used. So have you seen inverter in houses? So yeah, these inverters use actually lead acid battery for charging discharging cycle. They have quite a lot of charging discharging cycles. So that's why they are used in inverters. They are quite bulky, quite heavy, and they cannot be actually used inside pacemakers. So that's why we use lithium iodine batteries. So these batteries are actually used for pacemakers, and they have a property that they are not so toxic or harmful, and they get recharged easily, carry the energy density to a very high amount, can be charged at a much longer duration. So that's how these pacemakers are actually devised. So yeah, all the questions of non-graded assignments are completed. So if there are any queries, you can ask it now, and we will take a break of 5 minutes. So you guys can have water or something, or if there are any queries or you need any interrogation or something discussion on the weekly material topics, so you can ask in between. Okay, so I'm here. Once again, welcome you back to this course. Uh, so we have done this non-graded assignments. I solved this question. We discussed the facts also. Let me see. Recording is yeah, recording is going on. I think it's fine. So we have discussed this non-graded assignments, and now we'll move towards the graded assignments of the graded old assignments, and we'll discuss the questions. We'll also discuss the concept in between. Okay. So the first uh, match the following. So match the following, and what does it say? It is basically asking you to scale. Basically, order here. These are scales. So you are being asked to imagine how much big the scales can be. Okay, so peta, exa, tera, zeta, iota, that has to be. So if you see the meanings of these beta, exa, tera, zeta, or iota, I think sir has explained in the slides also. So let's open the slides. I think yeah. Okay, so beta is 10 to the power 15, exa is 10 power 18, zeta is I think this is recorded. Yeah. So zeta is 10 to the power 21, iota is 10 to the power 24. Okay, so that what the scale of quantities is. So if we see portable hard disk, so what are the order of portable hard disk? So portable hard disk are basically terabytes. You have seen terabyte TB, 1 TB. So you haven't heard petabyte, exabyte, zettabyte or something. Terabytes portable hard disk are generally. Gigabyte, terabytes. Okay, 500 GB, 1 TB, 2 TB, 3 TB, 4 TB. So that overall data created. So A is 3. You got it? A is 3. Overall data created and stored by humanity in 2010. So it's a year. It's a quite old year, 10 to 12 years old. So overall data is actually it must be a very big quantity. So it must be I think Jetta or Iota. So let's see how much is Jetta. Jetta is 10 to the power 21. So yeah, Jetta. Because it's a old data, it must be it must have reached Iota by now. But since it's a old by 2010 a single year, so it must be Jetta. Yeah, so B is 4. If you see the world annual energy uses, so generally energy uses are, if you see exa is 10 to the power 18. So yeah, exa is because after theta it comes beta. So annual energy uses are quite a big number, because if you see the energy usage of India, electricity, how much electricity India produce 2022, if we say, ask me. So India actually produced in 2022, it produced 397 gigawatt of electricity. So similarly, you can guess for America, China, everything. So basically, it's in the order of exa. Similarly, for supercomputers, beta, because it must be more than the hard disk, but it is that exa. So it is beta. Beta is 10 power 15. So that's a quite high number actually. Okay, and this NGC 5746, it must be a chip or something. So it's a iota. Okay, so if you see the correct answers for this question, the A is whatever hard disk are actually in terabytes order, and overall data created and stored by humanity is in zettabytes, and world annual Generally you say basically in exajoule or something. You must have a megajoule, exajoule. Supercomputers are generally in peta 10 to the power 15, and this NGC 5746 or something. It must be transistor or chip or something. So it's petabyte. So if we write it down, peta is 10 to beta is 10 to power 15, is it 10 power 18? So if we write it down, beta is 10 to the power 15, area is 10 to power 18, tera is 10 to power 12, zeta is 10 to the power 21, and iota is 10 to the power 24. So it's the biggest. Which is the biggest among them? This is the biggest. This is the biggest, and this is the smallest. Well, this is 10 to the power 24. It's almost double. Okay, it's not double actually. It's 12, 10 to the power 12 times more than tera. Yeah. So I think move to the next question. So next question basically you need to match the devices with the power usage. Okay, it's a very interesting question. You need to know how much device, which device use how much of power. Okay, so if we see the devices on the left hand side, it's basically a car battery, a household bulb, a Hubble, a marine, and a pacemaker. So it must be Hubble telescope or something. Well, okay, the car battery. So if we see the car battery, uh, now imagine the power usage by a car battery. So car battery, how much is the volt of car battery? 12 volt. You know this 12 volt. And how much is the power produced by car battery? Yes, and current. So basically, car batteries provide power in spark engines, produce spark, and also to power the various auxiliaries inside the car. So generally, at the time of mm, producing spark, it has a 400 to 500 amperes of current. Okay, so that comes out to be 4800. That is something around 4.8 kilowatt. So the correct answer is 5 kilowatt. A household bulb is actually a very small quantity. So generally earlier household bulbs were of 100 watt something. So if we go by the earlier thing, the household bulb generally consumes zero point 0.1 kilowatt. It is 100 watt. 100 divided by 1000 is basically zero point 0.1 kilowatt. What happens? This is not a general. These are incandescent bulb, but now normal CFL bulbs are generally 20 watt, 15 watt. LED bulbs are generally 10 watt. Simple bulbs were 40 watt also. 40 watt, 20 watt. 15, 10 CFL LED bulbs, which are much more efficient, produce much more lumens of light. So they are actually consume much lesser power usage. So they are basically 0.01. So that's how the efficiency works. So now earlier we need to had a bulb of 100 watt to produce a light of basically let's assume 500 lumens. But now we need only 10 watt bulb LED bulb to produce a light of 500 lumens. So that's quite a big progress. Your power consumption goes down by a factor of 10, and the lumens remains same. So if you have a 100 watt LED bulb, it will give 10 times more lumens of light. So that's why India is actually replacing all its street light with LED bulbs. So that is one of the main reason, because it wants to save its power and save them to solar. Okay. Well, Hubble is basically, I think it's talking about the Hubble telescope or something. So generally, Hubble telescope are is put into the space or something. It's a very old telescope, but very advanced level of telescope. So it generally consumes 2.4 kilowatt of power. That's a very huge amount of power actually. 2400 watts of power. That is 2400 joule per second of power. That's a quite high amount of power. Okay. Submarines are quite large, so quite they must utilize a large amount of power. So they draw their power from different sources, like diesel generators, other type of generator. Nuclear submarine derive their power from nuclear, uh, nuclear fuel. Basically nuclear reactors, you can say. So on similar nature, but generally submarines are actually have a power plant of their own, because they are quite independent in sea. They cannot come on the surface to have refilled or something. So that's why they had to be have a very high amount of power usage. Submarines generally has a power range of 1 megawatt, which is quite a high amount of quantity. Pacemakers are quite small. They are you've seen in the last slide also. The pacemakers are actually, this is because it cannot use much power. If it uses much power, then it's quite uneconomical to have a pacemaker. You have to provide the power to the pacemaker every time. So that's not possible, because you cannot put pacemaker to rest. Pacemaker has to work 24/7, 365. So that's why the development of pacemaker is such that the power consumption of pacemaker is quite low. It's zero point 0.6 microwatt. So the correct answer for all these is A. Car battery consumes around 5 kilowatt. The household bulb consumes around zero point 0.1 kilowatt. The Hubble consumes around 2.4 kilowatt. The submarine consumes around 1 megawatt. A pacemaker consumes around zero point 0.6 microwatt. Okay, is there any question regarding this? So if you have any queries, you must know these power usage of different devices, because they can be quite helpful in case of knowing the power requirements, the units in which the power is calculated, and how much is the consumption of power basically. So that's a quite important thing which needs to be known. Heard. Now we have to arrange these gases in increasing of order of their percentage composition. So first look at the gases. What are the gases? If we would take the name, they are argon, helium, neon, CH4, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. So these gases are present in the atmosphere, in in the air, and they cannot be separated out. So if we have to arrange these gases, so in order of volumetric percentage, so you know that most of the earth air is made up of nitrogen, which is, if you go by volumetric percentage, it is something around 78% or something, and oxygen. So these are the two major constituents. By volumetric percentage comes out to be 20% or something. These two are major components, and these things are actually very much minor. So if we see the volumetric percentage component, let's search for their volumetric components, percentage component. That's how we can arrange them. So uh, check for lecture. Yeah, you have it in lecture. You see, nitrogen is 78%. Nitrogen is 78%. Oxygen is 20.94, something like 21%. Argon is 0.93%. Argon is quite abundant. And then other atoms, CO2 is 0.04. It's around 400 ppm or something. Then we have neon 0.0018, a very insignificant number. Helium 0.0005, it's quite insignificant, and methane is quite low, 0.000. Methane is greenhouse gas also, similarly like carbon dioxide. So these two gases have to be in very small quantity, otherwise it can cause warm in make the atmosphere warm, the earth warm. So that is has to be controlled. If we arrange them, the first is nitrogen 78%, oxygen is 21%. Uh, then we will have argon 0.9%, then we will have CO2 0.04, then we will have neon neon is 0.001, then helium 0.005, and then we have methane 0.000179. So that's how this is arranged. The maximum one is nitrogen, the lowest one is methane. Okay, these need to be taken care of. Now we move to the next question. Meteors burning off generally occurs in dash, and jetliners fly in dash. So if we see the Earth atmosphere, so this is Earth. See the Earth atmosphere, the first layer actually surround the Earth is called troposphere. Then after it comes stratosphere, then mesosphere, then thermosphere, and then exosphere. Exosphere is outer universe. very above, more than 400 kilometers. So meteors are generally, if we see meteors, these meteors enter the exosphere is they don't have much resistance, very less oxygen and air. Thermosphere is quite high temperature is there in thermosphere. So because the gases become very less dense, so they cannot offer resistance to the meteors or something. So main burning of meteors occur when it enters the mesosphere. Okay, so that's where the gases are present which offers hindrance to the movement of meteors and make them burn and blast so that small pieces of powdery foam gets into the earth and we are saved from meteors every night. That's how our atmosphere saves our life. So you can imagine even if we have ample amount of air in our tanks, stored in tanks, and we don't have any atmosphere, then life on Earth will be very, very insignificant because of meteor rains, most of the life will be damaged. Just like if you see the moon, there are a lot of craters. That craters are actually formed because of meteors hitting the surface of the moon. Another thing is that jetliners fly in. So if you see the jetliners has to have obtain oxygen from the atmosphere to make the jet engines burn the fuel. So that's why most of the oxygen and air are concentrated in troposphere. So jetliners generally fly in troposphere. But they also reach the upper mark of stratosphere. They generally fly in this region. Somewhere below in troposphere, somewhere somewhat above in stratosphere. Okay, so this region they generally fly. So the correct answer for this question is mesosphere and troposphere. So meteors generally burn off generally in mesosphere and jetliners fly in troposphere. So what are these layers? I think I have explained with a description also, like what is troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. So you must have got a clear picture about different types of uh, different layers of atmosphere. So if there are any queries, any question or anything you want to discuss on this, you can ask me now. So if we see the Earth, approximately 80% of Earth atmosphere mass is in. Okay, so I have drawn this is Earth. See, what is this layer called? Called lithosphere. Why lithos? Lithos is basically surface or soil. It's made of lithosphere. So the first layer of atmosphere is troposphere. Then we have stratosphere. Then mesosphere, thermosphere, and the outer universe is exosphere. Uh, the effect of gravity which can be felt in exosphere. Okay. So most of the air is actually dense and subsides down and remains very near to the Earth's surface. Okay, so if we see the Earth atmospheric mass, as we move up, the air become more and more heated up and got diverse. So we have very less density of air as we move up. So that's a big challenge when we have to fly any plane or something. And this troposphere is not very small. It varies from 8 to 15 kilometers from the Earth's surface. So that's a quite height, but a big height. And most of the air is concentrated here. Approximately 80% of the Earth's atmospheric mass is in troposphere. Okay, so the correct answer is C. And the another question, trick question, which I have added, ki, okay, so you know the 80% of Earth atmospheric mass is in troposphere, but which layer is closest to Earth? Okay. So this is the layer which is closest to Earth, troposphere itself. So you know which layer is closest to Earth? It's troposphere. Now, this is an important question. I think we have discussed this question in the ungraded assignment also. Like every time the carbon dioxide is getting doubled in the atmosphere, so time required to double the atmosphere. At that time, it was asked that it gets doubled within 100 years. So that was the correct statement. But how many years generally? How many years the CO2 in the atmosphere is actually doubled? So time required to double the CO2 in atmosphere at the present rate of usage is around 86 years. Okay, so you need to remember this. So if the atmosphere, the rate of production atmosphere increases and we have more and more industry coming out, more sources of pollution, more vehicles on roads, so it can decrease also. So the rate of double will be maybe in 50 years, 60 years. So that will be a very much big problem because the carbon dioxide is a global warming gas. It has a global warming potential. It's a greenhouse gas. Another thing is that it is calculated based on the assumption of. So we have to have two assumption. We have to have assumption to calculate this value. Okay, so first assumption which was taken to calculate this was that all the atmosphere mass, all the atmosphere is within the troposphere. So you have seen the different layers of it can be assumed because 80% of atmospheric mass is in troposphere. Most of the air is in troposphere. So yeah, all the atmosphere is within the troposphere, and all the energy released is through carbon combustion. Okay. So this is also mostly true because we don't have hydrogen combustion here, and most of the energy is still dependent on carbon source because please consider oil, diesel, gasoline. What are these? These are basically carbon or hydrocarbons which are burned to produce energy and CO2 and H2O. Yeah, both of these statements are quite true. So all of them is true. Correct answer is 86, 1 and 2. Now the next question. Find out the genuineness of the given statements. So statement 1 is that enthalpy change of formation of carbon dioxide is an endothermic process. Okay. Another is that enthalpy change of formation of carbon dioxide is 394 kilojoule per mole. Okay, so you know endothermic process, the processes which required heat are called endothermic, to drive their reaction are called endothermic processes. So, and enthalpy of change formation of carbon dioxide is 394 kilojoule per mole. So let's see the values. I think it's not 394 kilojoule per mole, it's lesser than that. So we have this somewhere in the lectures. It's minus 394. So it's an exothermic process. Okay. So when we know the sign convention, plus is exothermic and plus is endothermic. So what's it saying? Plus. So plus is endothermic. So this is not endothermic process. First thing wrong. Second is it should be minus because it's a exothermic process. So this is also wrong. Both statements are wrong. So option B is correct. Oil contain these elements. So yeah, crude oil is basically a hydrocarbon, but it has various elements in trace elements or various elements also, like it has carbon, hydrogen, oxygen also, and nitrogen also. So we have some sulfur contents also. Generally not in gasoline, but in diesel we have sulfur. CHNSO analysis is performed to know these components. Basically, carbon and hydrogen are in much larger quantity. Nitrogen is also there. So oxygen are very less quantity. So the correct answer is all of them. Okay, and this ultimate analysis is basically a CHNSO analysis. It's called elemental analysis. Also, we know elements of this crude oil in carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, and oxygen form. It's a very important analysis and done using elemental analyzer or different instruments to determine the various percentage fraction. Let's see how much time is remaining. So if we see the world energy usage pie chart, so this was actually discussed in the lecture also in weekly lectures by the professor. Most we see the pie chart. Let me show you. Most of the actually energy still is coming from fossil fuels. Because solar has is in developing phase, nuclear no, people are more skeptical about nuclear energy because of accidents, Fukushima and Chernobyl. Biomass was a big contributor to energy currently, but its percentage is actually decreasing. So basically, it was fossil fuels. So if you see the pie chart, this was the pie chart. Yeah, coal is fossil fuel, natural gas is fossil fuel, oil is fossil fuel, these are renewable, this is nuclear, others. So yeah, most of the thing is coming from fossil fuel. How much? 124, 30, 54, and 33, something around 80, 87% is still dependent on fossil fuels. Solar energy is gaining momentum, and we will see that in near future by 2030, 50, 2050, solar energy will be a big contributor. Similarly, some countries like India are focusing more on nuclear energy also because of high capacity factors. This can also be a case. Biomass will decrease because biomass is a polluting source. It contributes of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere also. So people are, well, biomass can also be a good option. How much fossil fuel will last? It depends. Like coal can last 80 to 100 years, oils 50 to 60 years. So this much reserve is there. But after that, you will have to move specifically to the renewable sources. And biomass are basically carbonaceous content of matter that can be utilized to generate electricity energy. So biomass can be anything. Wood is basically a big source of biomass. Cow dung, uh, so waste also waste generated by human beings also. So that can also be a biomass because it has carbon content. Okay, so that was a. I think now we are moving to last question. Condition under which crude oil forms are millions of years. So yeah, if we see the condition under which crude oil forms are millions of years with it actually requires heat. Heat is the main requirement. They are actually buried deeply inside the earth crust, and for a long period of time, so heat is required. Another thing is that high pressure is required because they need to be compressed. So that's why they compress high pressure and absence of oxygen, because no oxygen contact is there. The correct answer is answer A. It's not presence of oxygen. Low pressure is not working. High pressure is required because to drive the chemical reaction to convert the biomass to fuel, crude fuel. Yeah. So I think we have solved most of the questions. Yeah, thank you. So this is my, let's see, almost we finished it in 1 hour and 57 minutes. So thank you all for attending this live session, and please find me at this email ID. If you have any queries, you can always ask me, or you can post your questions in the discussion forum also, so that regular TS can answer and many people can benefit from your queries. So this is the main uh, benefit of posting it in discussion forum. So if anything you want to discuss with me or you want to ask from me regarding the live session, you can always ask me, and please find me at this email ID. You can always email me. All emails are welcome. So we will again meet in the next week, so on similar date, Tuesday 7 to 9. Also, let me show you my YouTube channel, so you will get an idea to follow this YouTube channel. The links, these recordings will be uploaded in YouTube channel, so please follow it. Homes. So this is my channel. User E1. You will get this link. Try to subscribe it because these are videos from last lectures. Similarly, physics or and this can also benefits you if you could see. Try to subscribe it so you can get regular update about the different videos which I upload on time. Also, you will get the links in this live session NPTEL tab also. So it was a nice interaction with you guys. I hope you would have enjoyed the session and have a fruitful discussion also. And go through the lectures. If there are any queries, you are always welcome to ask here. Yeah. With this, I am ending this live session.